Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Back onto Logistical Nightmare Racing. I was actually under the impression that I was streaming the whole time long, but now I've just been told that I wasn't. So, complete apologies from my end. I should start this from the word go. We're back on the racing condition, and it feels like I'm going to have to start everything I've said in the last hour or so. So, this is where we are. Starting grid. Boys is on the mix. Robson in pole. He has got Dylan Hall on his left. Tariqa Campbell now. So I reckon it's going to be a fantastic start. Look at those Audis and the Porsches being instantaneously aggressive. Guys are on the move. Now, we got to be cautious going into Suzuka. There is enough space for 2 or 3 cars to go very wide and make it on the line. So far it looks quite clean. Do they make it instantaneously? No incidents through the S's. It is epic start thus far. Haven't seen or picked up anything from my point of view. I just gotta go and make sure that I've done what I needed to do. This is I've shocked the world. I've had a whole beautiful intro and everything. Round 2 at Suzuka, 2 o'clock in the morning. Hot track conditions. And again, when I say hot track conditions and no qualifying session this evening, this is just pure racing from grid order of last week. The grid has changed massively for those that have just joined us and for those that were waiting for me to actually do and say something on the stream, which I thought I was, but oh well. Can't believe it. Rookie mistakes. So let me bring everyone back up to speed. This is race 2, Suzuka. Last week we had the Imola race. In the Imola race, the champ, the winner of that race was Paul Venter / Sean Stradom, who is currently here in 7th position, sitting, I would say, comfortably behind the Porsche of Jacques Vermeulen. And based on the LNR traditions, tonight was a no qualifying race scenario. The boys came up and pitched up for a practice session, and then their grid positions was assigned to them. So individuals who won the race were necessarily placed in 10th position, and those that were ended up in 10th place last week, they, on the other hand, were in pole. So it's a bit of a swapperoonie. The other factors we have to consider this evening as well is that there is a 2 pit stop requirement. So they got to go into the pit stop and jack their car up and let it go. Now 2 pit stops for a 1 hour 15-minute race plus fueling is required. Now of course they don't need to change their drivers to their teammates. They can finish the race as it is. But they gotta do 2 pit stops. Nell Bullion on the other end was in the mix up there, but he's all the way at the back. You can see a couple of the boys has jumped into the pits immediately. That is straight on Paul, V, Nell, and Bullion as the 2s on the pit stops become a certain one. So this is just going to be epic as everyone goes over that bump. That is a tricky track conditions. Of course, that is Tegner 1 and of course Tegner 2 coming around here over the hairpin. Now we're currently viewing Sean Stradom, who is being heavily challenged there between Alan Patterson and R. Du Plessis. It looks like R. Du Plessis went a bit backwards from his starting position, but that Aston Martin is severely under pressure there. Ooh, as there was an incident. No, that was a Mayer and contact. So I'm going to go back and have a squint at what has occurred there. Click on go. Let's just see. So I am fully aware that it is Patterson. Great excitement race there. So we had Sean Skitter under pressure, Patterson on the outside, the other individual on the inside. Ooh, that looks like a slight tag though there from the BMW. Now that would have been minor just to offset the man a little bit. But that has certainly affected Alan Patterson, who I believe is potentially one of the most consistent racers we have had at LNR, and still a leading championship winner here at our community. So back into the mix again. Robson leading the race. Now he is under pressure now again there from Jacques straight on. That is Tarika in his Lambo. Still has a 5-second penalty, but Jacques on his case, and so is Skutter. The objective here for the guys that started at the back of the grid is try and pass the individuals who started the race in front of them. So it's the challenge. It's making it tricky for individuals from our point of view, and taking out the whole qualifying session out, allowing guys to race. And I think it's fundamental for sim racing. One can be fast. There's many of ways that you can be phenomenally quick in the sim racing platform, but evidently we also want to make sure that you are well positioned to make moves, make passing maneuvers, create opportunities. This is going to be a 3 wide in scenario. Is one of them going to falter? That is Skitty there. That nearly took my breath away. Again, I would not go down that path at 130R, 2 cars wide. Good move there by Skitter. Opportunistic though. He seems to be a lot more comfortable in the Aston Martin as opposed to Jacques Vermeulen, but Jacques Vermeulen is phenomenally quick going through the corners, especially in the midsection and the end of the race. So might not have top end speed, but it certainly has corner speed. I gotta go look and find more action. There's so much to look for. E. Mutanya in LT Racing Bulldog Academy. He's on the hout down there for Duplessis, right in front of him, driving for MC Racing. 2 BMW straight on action. Then of course we have Gary van der Aar in the Aston Martin for LNR Chatbot, trying to stay on point with everyone on track. Hall has gone into the pit, so again this is where Hall is sitting. Now this is going to be very confusing and quite cumbersome for me to try and track the whole race through. So again, for everyone on the stream, let's just recap again. So we got a 1 hour 15-minute race. 2 mandatory pit stops is needed. Again, team driver swap is optional, and then fueling requirements is necessary. So plus we didn't have a qualifying session, so the grid was completely set as per race finishes last week at Imola. So, and it's not you won last week at Imola, you will start at pole. No, the winner of the previous race on race 1 started at 10th position. What a way. That I don't know how to keep track on that. On chat box and everyone here, V Falcon, Dino, oh geez, I don't know if I'm gonna say that, but I'm gonna go Varonos. Good evening, hello. Individuals went, they pitted, and it didn't register, so seems like a couple of bugs here and there within the race itself. I'm gonna keep an eye on seeing what Dylan Hall does. He did start at the front of the grid. Leader by this moment is Robson. Now of course the top 5 boys has opted not to do any pit points at this stage. Skitter still ahead of Darga. Gamble, ooh, making a big fumble there. Now whether that is just internet lag or that looks like a bit of a lag here, but nevertheless Gamble is still going. Skitter is trying to hunt him down. Jacques Vermeulen, again, on the back of that Lamborghini, which might frustrate him a little bit, because I reckon he has potentials to be a lot quicker than Tarika. More penalties being dished out. Now, I guess the R to Plessis penalty there was for contact made potentially with Alan Patterson, and it did look like it was just an accidental touch on the rear left fender, and due to that whole momentum of the BMW at Alan Patterson on the corner, and when I say the corner, that's just before the spoon curve, allowed him to turn. So, and that just set him all the way back. Nel Bullion, on the other hand, who I just quickly noted with my eye, he started at the pit lane. Now he has done one pit stop already. He's got a couple of seconds and work to do to catch up a few guys. You can see on the other end is trying to get away from Mouton and Gary van Haar. So these boys have been fighting or following each other for the last 10 minutes or so. So good pace in between the individuals. I have to admit, from a lap racing position, quite on point from pace, but also simultaneously, it just doesn't look like the Porsche can make any ground on the Lamborghini. As they're heading to the hairpin for another lap. Back in the mix over here, we have Meyer in car 99. Now there was a little bit of a yellow flag there by this individual here, so I'm going to go back into a replay, just looking at what Ellis did. So Ellis comes down the straight. I hope I have enough time to view and see what has happened. Dylan makes a move on him, sets him up. Is he going to go on the inside? Yes, he is. So that's no, he is pulling back. Oh, contact made between those two. Again, that looked very incidental between the individuals. Ellis did go straight down, and I think because Hall was a bit too close to him, it was just a bit of a misjudgment. That's what it seemed like. But he is probably carrying a bit of damage with him. Beautiful looking ERA livery there. So I'm fairly certain that the stewarding team will have a look at it. Flashing lights tells me he was exceptionally frustrated with that. The passion of sim racing, the passion of sim racing drivers, I can honestly relate. Like the minute you are on the wheel behind it, all you want to do is focus and do the best you can at the moment. Apexes and exits and throttle speed and making sure you don't create any problems for yourself. Any minor contact that you occur or encounter during the race just lets you off like a ticking time bomb. Jacques Vermeulen there losing a lot of positions again. So let me just see what has happened. He was on the back end of the Lambo, and you can see this back is slowly catching up. So going back to Jacques, everything looks well going through the S's. He has the optimal speed going into Degner, makes a good move down there. Degner 1 does the turn and loses it just before Degner 2. Puts it in the dirt, and now he's got to work hard again to try and make another move on that Lambo. Gets the position, makes the position, and then Degner unsettles him. Just unfortunate. Now he's got to work his way back into it. That Lambo can breathe a little bit because he's got a slight gap ahead of him. And now we got Duplessis, Mouton, Gary van Haar, Alan Patterson, all of them slowly catching up on the back end. I mean, look at this from a gapping point of view as Patterson goes into the pits, and this would be his first one that opens the door for Gary. So again, Gail van der Berg also in the pit stops. These boys have got to do what they need to do in this session. What a weird setup. So individuals struggling with fuel and pit stop scenarios, everyone being very vocal on the chat point of view. That would be very strange. Again, boys, give me your feedback. Tell me what your experiences are. Again, good things to be acknowledged. Ashley Breadroll indicating that 1 liter of fuel is potentially not registered on the game. You might need 1 liter like we usually do for fuel only stops. So it seems like it's a 1 liter I do fuel, but then it doesn't register on the pit stops for the boys on the stream. That's gotta be heartbreaking. Because that just unsettles you. You're in for a good big race, and then all of a sudden follow your strategy, you go into the pit stop, do what it needs to be done, and it just doesn't register that it was done. Not cool. Not cool at all. So a couple of things we need to look into and see and get a better understanding of. Back into the race again. So 58 minutes of racing left. Darika is the man on stream this evening because he has been in quite a number of battles this evening. He did have a slight battle with Short Skirter who has passed him. Created a 6-second gap between himself, but he and Jacques Vermeulen is just all over each other the whole end. And then of course we have Duplessis making a big fumble. He's going to go wide. That is going to unsettle the whole S's for him, losing a lot of momentum. Aston Martin takes the opportunity. He gets the lead heading into Degna 1. Can he hold pace? Looks very good coming out of Degna 2. BMW still looks very unsettled. Bit of a concentration loss there by Duplessis. He's got to focus and put it back into again. As you can see, he just outbrakes himself going into the hairpin. So very unsettled driving there by Duplessis, which can occur, and that could be because of some potential damage on the car itself, which will give you a bit of oversteer or understeer. But to me it just looks like a bit of concentration loss. So back in the mix of that, everyone getting more and more penalties. Now Bullion here in the McLaren, he has got Mayer on his back end. So Honda versus McLaren, equal number of pit stops by the two. 56 minutes of racing, still the starting drivers here. Now of course, from recollection, Nel Bullion did start in the pit box, so he still has a lot of work to do. Again, Mayer looking very racy this evening. Wants to put a challenge on there, but a bit too far for him to make a maneuver in 130R. It's all about good exit speed. Looks nice and clean and tidy there by Bullion. Great exit, created a bit of a gap between himself and Mayer. On the other hand, we have D Hall. He's being pressed and followed by N Greening, who's also driving a Porsche. A couple of individuals driving a very unusual car today. That does look like a beautiful livery now. I'm not even 100% sure if that is like, yeah, that's the Axler Signa Racing TP12 livery. Beautiful livery there from a standpoint of view. Again, not going to take away from that BMW sponsored chic livery. But these two boys certainly battling along. Jacques Vermeulen is off the trace. Gary van der Haar is in there. So let's just go look. Jacques Vermeulen all the way back again. So did he make a fumble and dropped a few positions? That's about the only thing that makes sense to me. Oh, rear end tail whip again. So I know that is not his normal car. As we go back to Sean Stradom, from Jacques Vermeulen's point of view, that is generally not his normal car that he would drive in any circumstances. He's generally a man that went from Bentley to probably BMW or something. I don't think I've ever seen him back in the Bentley again, but he's got the Porsche with him, and that Porsche can be a handful. I know, especially at Spoon, because if you're a bit too quick on the throttle, that rear end just wants to whip out. Stradom, on the other hand, he is trying to catch up there on Duplessis. He has split it, Duplessis and Mouton. It's going to put Duplessis in the BMW under some pressure. He looked a bit unsettled not so long ago when Gary van der Haar in car 122 with the Aston Martin passed him coming out of the S's. And again, similar racing line that Duplessis has taken. Such a wide entry into the final S's there, which will most certainly put straight line speed towards the Honda. I mean, you gotta get your apexes turned so close coming out of there to get the maximum amount of speed. And once again, too deep into the hairpin, Sean Stradom makes it very tight. He's gonna stick it on the outside. Now this could be quite tricky. Is he gonna make the... Ooh, what has occurred there? All of a sudden there was a Honda in the mix, and I don't even know where that came from. Let's just see if we can see that. Who was that Honda? That was Alice, of what I know. Back to it. So again, Alice comes out of an incident, drives very slowly though. That doesn't look like he is under any pace at all. Duplessis is fending off himself and makes instant contact with the Honda. Now he did try and avoid him. I don't think that was very well judged. I would go a little bit too late. So some other weird phenomenal reason, Stradom managed to avoid necessary incident. I think Alice has got bad damage. The fact that he connected with the wall just after the hairpin, drove slowly through the race, stayed on the racing line with the slow car, tried to avoid everyone from connecting with him, and then he got rear-ended by Duplessis. That would be a tough decision for the race stewarding team to determine who was at fault, because I would say a hard one. But nonetheless, incidents across the board. Let's just go look at Robson. Robson, who was the leader of the race at some point. Again, at the start of the race, he has done his necessary pit stop. That has put him out into 8th position this evening. Now everyone ahead of him, apart from Stradom, has done a 1 pit stop. So Stradom coming into Spoon is, shoo, that's quite a bit of a gap. That's about a 10-second gap between him and Wilfred Robson. Now, of course, Robson led the race not so long ago. Stradom has been battling the traffic from 10th position, made the decision on lap 1 to do a early pit stop to then give himself clear air, which has now placed him 10 seconds or so ahead of Robson. So strategically, that just looks like it was the better choice at the moment. Now, everyone on a 1 that has done 1 pit stop, apart from Robson and Stradom, are still very back at the pits. So we've got Aspiri in the Lambo, who is potentially at this moment 3rd on position based on pit stops. This is not even final count, because again, everyone ahead of him has to do 2 pit stops. Now we're talking about Steyn, now Mouton, Duplessis, Van der Haar, Tarika, Skutter, and then of course Gamble. That's a lot of individuals that still has to do that one necessary pit drop and stop. So again, theoretically, he looks like he is in 3rd position. Podium spot. He's being chased down by Bullion. And again, this is the only Ferrari on track, so I reckon it will be a good result if we can get a Ferrari at least up into the top 5 of this races. Team Iron Lynx. Hope you boys do well. I'm going to keep an eye on this Ferrari throughout the race. Back to Mouton, and he now has Wilfred Robson. Ooh, big mistake by him going into the corner of Spoon, potentially outbraking himself. Too much speed into that corner will just unsettle you going into Spoon all the way down to 130R. Everything done perfectly right there by Robson. Makes up the position, I would say, makes the position and clears the traffic. Now that I can see a bit of light here as the sun rises, that BMW of Duplessis looks a bit bent. Now I do remember saying that he looked a bit out of shape, lost in focus, but that BMW has certainly got some aerodynamics there. Wilfred makes no mess out of that. Takes the inside line, carried more speed out of the last exit corner, made the move, made it count. Gary van der Haar now, he is under pressure there by Stradom. Stradom backs out. A bit uncertain as to what that Aston Martin is going to do, but again, we all know too wide through Degna is not the ultimate choice. Ooh, as Van der Haar goes very deep into Degna 2, opens the door for Stradom. Stradom will definitely capitalize on that. Easy pass, mistakes made, and opportunity taken. Neil Greening here on the other hand with his boys. He is really trying to make a maneuver here on Hall. Hall not doing the best he can. Bauer on the other hand. Now Bauer here in the Honda has done his 2 pit stops. So that is all done and dusted. 2nd pit stop done. These lap times in general are phenomenally quick. Best lap time thus far 201.5. Last lap time can't really see because Delta doesn't actually tell me those details, but this is going to get quite interesting. Oh, everyone on the chat. So let me just go back and say hello to some individuals on the chat. Let me see if I don't miss it. So Paul Fenton, I've got Dino, I've got PP Falcon, I've got Ashley, hello. Brian van Wyk, hello. Kalen Mawa, the man with Base Motorsports, giving his team some vocal encouragement, and just for that I'll go to that. So in the car at the moment for Pace Motorsport, the Trocon Gooi Millies on the left hand side of the door, driven by M. Sabato, currently in 16th place. Now of course they have done a pit stop. He is chasing down that Lamborghini. Now the Lamborghini of Tariqa was in 3rd or 4th place, so this is the man that was running in the top 5 just prior to his pit stop. So did D Hall. So this is all for position. This is where it gets quite interesting, because D Hall is the man that did stand second on the grid. He has been passed by the Lamborghini. Now that puts him a bit out of perspective, because again, Rolford Robson is way there in 5th place. I reckon this is where speed, pace, consistency does count. But simultaneously, it's been an eventful race from the word go. Like a couple of incidents here, a few individuals indicating on the stream itself that their team did do a pit stop and it didn't count. So that will require them to do another pit stop. Now the pit entry, pit exit scenario is quite long, because it starts all the way at the back of the final corner and practically runs all the way down to turn 1. So it is a long pit stop at Suzuka. It's not as long as what Spa is, but it does take a bit of time to get your car in and throughout the pit box. Back to the mix of the Ferrari here, who now has a BMW on his rear end. Of course, Aspiri has done a pit stop, which is very good, and as I've highlighted, at the present state, he is up for that 3rd podium spot. Now that of course does depend what happened to the individuals there in 17th and 18th on the telemetry data, because they finished their pit stops. The sun is coming out, lights, people will be seeing more, so I reckon the pace of the speed will be far better. Just as I said that, Sean Stradom smashing it out with his best time of a 2-minute flat 747. That is quick. So as the sun comes up, clear visibility is evident, temperature is grinding, so it's now 30 degrees in the early hours of the morning. That's gotta be a hot Suzuka. Kind of makes me think and feel like it's half Middle Eastern territory for temperatures. Not the kind of racing that you want to do at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, because the track would be scorching hot. Your tires would probably just last 3 laps, and for those that follow the Formula 1 scene, I would go hard tires all the way, qualifying, race, because mediums and softs is just gonna melt up. So Mutan has made his move. He has passed Esprit. That's the LT Racing boys making up a position. Of course, they've got to do their pit stops as necessary. Jacques Vermeulen in the pits, and of course he's also in with R. Duplessis at the present moment. Gamble, race leader. M. Gamble, man who hasn't done a pit stop. He is stretching it. For a 1 hour 15-minute race, he's been behind the wheel for just over 30 minutes, making it count, still keeping Sean Schutter at bay. Now, that is quite interesting. from a speed pace perspective, and of course how we have learned and become accustomed to the sim racing drivers in all sim racing communities, I would not call Sean Skitter a slouch. I mean, he has got some decent legs on him and pace, so Gamble is giving it stick all the way. He's managing to keep Skitter at bay, not being able to catch up to him, and running that Audi full throttle. Now he's in the pits. This is where it's gonna start counting now. Sean Stradom still making it out. So top 5 boys have certainly changed a lot of spots. Who haven't I mentioned? I need to make sure that I've got everyone on good enough screen time here. Herzeg in the Honda, who's had an awful race. This poor man has had such bad luck this evening, or the team itself from the ERR point of view. My humblest apologies from a commentating perspective. What bad luck. I know you had an incident side by side, door to door contact going into corner 1, and then of course that unusual incident with the BMW from the rear end while you were slow coming out of the hairpin, which would have cost you so much. So you are 3 laps down, struggling to get any momentum because you've got individuals with quite a bit of pace around you passing you. So it's just an unsettling night for these boys this evening. I do hope you guys come back quite strong. And as I said, that Alan Patterson here in 8th position. Now he has done a pit stop, and I reckon based on all the comments that has been made, assuming that Chris Heinecker is driving with Patterson, they've done their 1 pit stop and they still have to do another one. So I guess it's a pit stop setback. Let's just see if I can find the count of pit stops. So Alan has done 1. Duprier has done 3. Bauer has done 2 thus far. So has Ryan Beddington Smith, who is now in the car. They've done their 2 pit stops. So the individual that's done more at this moment is Duprier. Then of course Stein has done 2 pit stops, but it just hasn't recorded. This makes no sense. Who is the teammate of Stein? So Stein and Chris Heinecker, yes. So based on Delta and based on information, I can concur that these boys, Stein and Chris Heinecker, car number 1 in the Porsche, have done 2 pit stops. Now that makes me question, is there a way for us to clear that? So if we do ACC, now the guys on the stream who know or who has any information on this, might be good if we have some method or means to help individual cars with instances like this. Manual entry list, restricted ballast, DD, clear, DQ, ban, kick, stop, go. Oh, we can add ballasts, we can do restrictors, but we can't do anything on pit boxes. So, sorry, I'm stuck on this. I should actually go back to the action where the sim racing actually is. So Robson and Gamble are 2 individuals that are now battling it out. So again, Gamble has got the pace. There's definitely no doubt about it. He has gone into the pit stop, did his pit stop. He did keep Sean Skitter, who's currently leading the race, at bay, but he has filtered his way back right behind Robson. So this is where it gets really, really interesting as the race evolves. Skitter still has to do 2 pit stops, and based on the delta, he has just gone into the pits where he filters out. I reckon it will be behind Robson and Gamble. Potentially also behind Null, who is just here at the back end, and maybe Aspri. And that, ooh, and Stratum in the pit. So this is going to be quite interesting. I'll keep an eye out on these individuals here on track, just to see where happens. No, Gamble in the pits, Robson staying out. Now does Robson get ahead? Again, there is Skitter. Yeah, Robson is ahead of Skitter, filtered out nice and clean air for him. Stratum on the other hand is still in the pit, so positions haven't really changed that much. It is so interesting how this filtered out. So now we have Robson in the lead, followed by Skitter. Then of course we have Nalia in chasing Beavers with their BMW sitting in third. Stratum is doing his final pit stop, so is Gamble. They're going to be done and dusted when they get out of there. Now that's of course if all goes well and does well. We definitely got to look into this. So I'm gonna take a snapshot of what has occurred, because again, Chris Heineke is now in their third pit stop again. It's counted for one. It's put them back so far. So based on the game itself, or ACC, they still got to do another pit stop. But based on my delta and telemetry data here, they have done 3 pit stops already. That is awful. That's a scenario that just ruins a race. But I'm gonna go to the leading box. This is where the excitement's gonna end up from my viewpoint of view. Falcon is Alex. Again. See? Thank you. Change your name. Why do you call yourself VP Falcon on YouTube? Just call yourself Alex. Alright. Robson in the pits. More changes to occur. This makes me go back and see if I can find Stratum. Where is Stratum? AKA Paul Fenter now. New driver. Done all the pit stops. It'll be interesting to see where Robson filtered out. Now he's in the pits. He's potentially got to do a driver swap. That is a couple of seconds extra. I reckon Paul Fenter and his team, which is Blixem and his wall team. What a name. Is a potential podium win this evening. Yep, filters his way through. Robson still out, only gets off the mark now. Patterson still in the pits there. So, Paul Fenter takes position from Robson. However, Gamble... Oh, Gamble and Robson, side by side action here. Is that Gamble? Yes. Undercut has worked. And I just got to make sure if it is. Yes, it is. That has certainly worked. So Gamble did the earlier pit stop as opposed to Robson. Managed to get out and on pace far quicker. Made the move. Kept it clean on his outlap. And gained the position. So Robson lost one position during his 2 pits strategy setup. Gamble, on the other hand, has gained positions, and he's now on the rear end of that Lamborghini. Apriz has made a big mistake there in 130R. I'm going to go and have a look at that now. Any clear evidence of what has occurred? Let's just see. Apriz looks all clean, nice and tidy there, coming out of spoon. Now, of course, 130. This is just a pure, simple straight line speed scenario. Does something kick him off? Good line. Oh no, that is just the rear end that kicked out on the green track. Absolutely unfortunate. That's gonna set him back. He was certainly up there to have a great race finish this evening. Gamble, on the other hand, is ahead. Where is Gamble? Lee Bullion is the secondary driver of Robson. So I've been calling the driver Robson, but in actual fact it is the LNR season-wide second driver, Lee Bullion. Big focus for this gentleman. The race is still not finished yet. Heineke is in there. Santos in the Ferrari now. New driver. They've done all their pit stops. So didn't look like they picked up any damage from that incident at 130R. Still got a lot of work to do. Heineke, on the other hand, these boys are going to fight it hard, but they're still going to lose points and positions all the way through, because they're probably going to be the most pit stop counted boys the whole race. Takes a look on the inside. Base Motorsport boys goes wide, gives them plenty of room. Now that's like a 4x4 wide track space. That the Barta being very, very cautious. He kind of took note that he was on the inside, so he just took a wider line, gave the position back. But it's all about smart driving and how you manage it till the end of the race. Only a few individuals and teams that still needs to do pit stop. Schnur, on the other hand, stop goes 30-second penalty. That, in all fairness, is a race-ending penalty. Just can't get any better than that. Lorraine Laurier from LT Racing, they just had an awful race this season. And again, I'm going to go just to see pit counts, what has happened, what has occurred. Ooh, BMW not looking too fresh. Herzog, on the other hand, one pit stop. Plenty of work for everyone to do. And the Lambo back in the mix again. Like, Tariqa has been very eventful for him this evening. I don't think this man that has got the only Lamborghini on track can walk away saying that his race was not eventful. From race start to where we are, he has managed to kept it on track, fought hard, lost a few positions, gained a few positions, and just kept his nose clean. So big ups to car 210, driver by Tariq, that is just looking like he is up for a good finish this evening. So hope it does go well. He is still under a bit of pressure with the individuals behind him. So of course we've got Varonas in the BMW, but he still needs to do a pit. So these two will be battling it out after they've done their final pit stop. Lee Bullion, on the other hand, looking quite comfortable there where he sits at the moment, as that BMW takes a lot of curve into 130R. Surprisingly, it didn't unsettle him deep into the corner mix. That's going to slow his exit speed dramatically there. But it potentially does have a lot of space there. It did put Lee Bullion far closer to him. Chris Heineke there in the back of the mix. Now, of course, I have been mentioning this individual quite a bit because he's got a significant amount of talent there with him. Also with Slick Racing, Ryan Beddington Smith on the other hand in the Porsche. Now this is very unknown territory here. He is battling it out with T Ferreira. So the LNR P&W versus T Ferreira, two Porsches side by side action. They've had quite a bit of bad luck this evening. It's like that started good, didn't really go that well because Beddington Smith and teammate had Lambo problems, and I'm gonna go call it Lambo problems because they managed to get past and then they fell back and then they get past and then they fell back and then they just fell more back. So I'm gonna go everything that went wrong with that Porsche this evening in car 998 is due to Lambo, and it's not because the Lambo caused anything. It's just absolutely bad luck this evening. Quite a bit unusual. Chris Heineke making another move, of course, talented man making positions. Lee Bullion knowing that he is not going to challenge anyone at the moment, nor does he actually need to challenge anyone. He's got a couple of guys ahead of him, but most of those individuals has got to quit. So where we stand with Lee Bullion on Delta is potentially 4th place. The only individual that could challenge him is Dupree in the sister McLaren, who is probably about 10 seconds adrift from him. I don't foresee that any of the individuals like Tariq or Faronos or Heineke with a pit stop will kind of be in the mix over there. It just doesn't seem viable. Leading the pack at the present state, of course, is Paul Fenter, the boys that did win the race 1. It just looks like one of those championships where Paul Fenter and Sean Stradham, the team of B&W, oh, that sounds so funny, because I literally could just go a Blixen and his wall, which is B and his W. Again, driving a Honda car with the initials of a BMW as a team name. Be the team to beat this season. 2 races in a row. This is a potential victory up for grabs. Now, of course, a bit premature from my end because we still have 22 minutes of racing left, so anything can happen. 130R is known to bring up a few surprises here and there. A bit too much rear end on a curb coming out of that corner will potentially direct you into the wall path, which of course is what this team name seems to be known of. Gamble on the other hand with the Audi. What a drive by these guys, like ARC LOL, phenomenal. Like I would not have expected the finishing race by Gamble and Liam Smith, who is his teammate, sit where they sit at this moment. Now, of course, that's about a 17 seconds adrift from the leader, but still a great race. 20 minutes to go, podium here, 2nd place for sure. And then, of course, we've got Skitter and Anthony Wilson here, currently running with the Aston Martin here. I still think there's something wrong with this livery. It's just like either they're not picking the right livery, because that just doesn't seem like a good default. Chris Heineke on the other hand, who still needs to do a pit stop. And gents, if I had the power vested in me to disable pit stop points and counts on the ACC, and that is probably something we need to look into from an ACC standpoint. We have all kinds of administrative abilities to provide and take away penalties. Now, of course, when we dish out penalties and provide them, it is all live. It is all monitored by a steering team, which will then dish out a certain amount of penalties. We also have the abilities to remove drive-throughs and change them towards to something else. Simultaneously, we can on the platform itself, we can ban individuals, clear all penalties, add ballast and so forth to cars. But for some other reason, we just do not have the ability to review and help individuals with minor bugs. Now, I reckon what these boys have filtered into this evening is a bug. Systematically, it is annoying, frustrating, and simultaneously just it deprives you from what your potential outcome could have been. Because from a racing point of view, if we have to count that these guys still have to do one more pit stop, they've already done 3 based on what I've looked at thus far. They would have been ahead of the pack for sure. Of course, you're going to have to analyze it and then just validate the validity of the pit stops they've made. Again, my application is indicating that they have done what they said they've done. So this is that sanity thing. So surely we should have the ability to administer bugs like these, whereby we can remove that facilitation and allow the individuals to do what they do. I think if it was up to me and based on points and scenarios, they continue racing. Just don't do that pit stop and finish the race, and then argue the fact after the race. That is my thought. I mean, again, up for grabs, up for debates. I think that to me is a valid definition. If you are confident enough as a team to constitute that you have done your pit stops, we can most certainly save the replays, and then confirm that afterwards as a community, as stewarding team, as a streamer. Everyone can do that. So, and even the driver itself, they can save their streams and provide that as evidence. Do your race, finish it off. Don't do the pit stop, get the penalty. That's all good and well. That's fine. The system itself will give you that penalty after the race is finished. But then subsequently you can argue your position afterwards. Gain the points that you would have lost if you take a pit stop down. Again, food for thought. I don't know. Anyone on stream, those that are watching, I guess that's the best alternative. Let's all be realistic here. So, the Slick Racing team, that's my thought. Even the boys at the back, so I can see based on data, and I'll confirm it. So, Coronos, which is these boys here, they've still calculated that they have 1 pit stop left to do, but based on my statistics, they've done 2 pit stops. I would just finish the race. We can do the administration later. That's my thought. Again, take it, don't take it. But then again, it's a different discussion if you've done all the pit stops, but then you had to do more or whatever the case may be. But there is certainly something that we can debate afterwards. Wilson has conceded that spot to Chris Heineke. So it all depends on what is going to occur there. Dupree here in the McLaren, currently under severe pressure there by the Ferrari. And I did indicate that I will keep an eye out on the Ferrari itself, who is most definitely looking like it's going to have a good race result here this evening. Top 10 is where we would want to be. Chris DeSantos here, teammate of Alan Patterson, currently in 9th. Now, everything based on pit stop counts and all those details looks ideal. I know it's not the best night because I recall that this car had a fender bender collision with another fellow BMW car. I don't know why it is that BMW boys take out BMW boys. Like, share the love. Take out other cars if you really have to. Now, of course, it's an incident. Don't really do it. I'm just word playing here. We are not about bad driving etiquette. All about clean racing. But in all the most races that I've actually viewed and partaked, it just seems like a BMW car takes out a BMW. Come on. I'm all for BMW. Love the car. Enjoy driving it. Let's just show them that we are better. Show them that we use indicators. Also show them that we are the better drivers. Again, being very vocal because I'm a BMW driver, so it is what it is. Back in the mix. Paul Venter, leader of the race, currently still doing phenomenally well. Again, lap times at this moment, his last one was at 2:04. Now, that could be partial to a bit of traffic here. But in all fairness, it could be quite a few other things. Verona's here, currently in 5th. But again, he is being chased down by Lee Bullion, who is looking very comfortable at this moment in 6th place. Father of Neil Bullion, who his teammate is running here in the sister McLaren in 7th place. So the two McLarens are driving very well in racing terms. I saw a yellow there by someone. Verona's there going defensive. He not really being the aggressor, but just in case. Heineke on the other hand trying to pull away from those boys, so this is actually quite exciting for the last remainder of the minute. And I reckon the guys like Wilson in car 4 in the Aston Martin would go, when is the guy ahead of me going to pit? Is he going to pit? When is he going to pit? He needs to pit. So in his head, if they downplay it the way I suggested, he goes, that's my podium spot. I am going to get it back, so I don't necessarily need to push to get that position because it's right in front of me. Ooh, Verona's there with a drive-through penalty. Now that is track cut scenarios. That will definitely set them back from where they are at the moment. Gutted in total. Because that is a that's just absolutely awful. And again, it is Suzuka, so I can imagine where and how that has evolved over an hour race. 3 track cuts at this circuit, most of them is potentially picked up by 130R as your culprit. A little bit too wide going out of that corner will give you multiple warnings, but the same thing with the entering corner at Spoon. If you take too much speed into it, it will force you car off the track, wider line on the right hand side. Similar advantages and disadvantages at turn 1, turn 2. Too much entry speed will allow you to go far left, and then of course potentially getting the track cuts. The other potential is Degnas. Individuals take the opportunity to cut that corner as best they can to have and create and maintain the momentum through Degna 1 and 2. So lots of possibilities where it could occur and lead to, but that is a drive-through for Varonas, who will give the position now to Lee Bullion, who is in 6th place, and that's a definite give for them. From a gap racing standpoint of view, the other close individuals challenging each other is of course Dupree here in the sister McLaren, who's being chased down by the one and only Ferrari, with Nicolas De Santos in Iron Link's team. And of course we have Chris De Santos here, who's verbally acknowledged that he is a bit rusty. However, the first race at Imola, he was phenomenal. Like, these boys took second position, which was such a good race for them as a team. But this evening, however, definitely did not go to plan. A rear end tag on Alan Patterson in the early stages of the race caused him to lose his car going just into Spoon onto the grassy knolls, and therefore had to fight all the way back. Now, again, when you start losing positions at the beginning of the race, that's very wide. You subsequently have a lot of spaces to pick up on. Boys on the stream going no mercs. Yeah, that's a good question. Why doesn't anyone like the mercs? What has happened to Mercedes in general from a selection point of view? Oh, Galen, there we go. Keep the chatter going. Again, thanks for your support, man. Boys are absolutely fantastic, and it just reminds me I need to go find that beautiful Base Motorsport BMW. Currently in 12th position, driven now by Kel van der Vaart, who is got a bit of a gap between himself and Dave Young in the Aston Martin in car 122. And he's being hunted down by Ryan Bennington Smith, but I think he's got a significant amount of breathing space between himself and the Porsche. Dave Young, on the other hand, teammate of Gary van der Haar, who started the race phenomenally in this beautiful, I would say, O2, is it? I think it's the O2 livery, or M2 Voter something. Again, subsequently designed for the LNR team. It just looks phenomenal on stream. So, where are we? I'm gonna go and get some chat. Let's just see what everyone is talking about. At Mulgary, Mihao, at Sean Stradom. No mercs. When am I selling my BMW? Oh, that's a good question. So, in all fairness, yes, I do drive the BMW. When am I going to sell it? I don't know. I did have a thought at the end of last year to possibly sell it. And again, I'm still thinking about it at the present moment because I have my eye on a Ford Ranger. So I want to go back to my roots, get a good 4x4, I would say South African bucky in my hands. So I've got actually an eye out for the Ford Ranger. Whether I'll do that transition or when I'll do that transition is still in limbo at the moment. But again, I'll let you all know when that's gonna if it will happen, when it will happen. But yes, I want to go back to my roots. I do miss coming from the whole South Africa thing when I actually did have a bucky. Now of course I initially owned a Nissan Hardbody. I sadly had to sell that car upon my departure from South Africa, and I still miss it. So I'm gonna go back into that again. If I can afford it, if I want to do it, if I'm gonna do it. Again, I need a couple of blessings and love and TLC before I make it. But enough of me. Good question. Did make me talk about it for a bit. So where do we stand? Final 5 minutes of the race. Gotta admit, this was eventful. So let's see if I can recap this in the shortest amount of time possible. Last week's race at Imola was eventful, like in all means eventful. Individuals that pitched up and raced, those that made positions, conquered positions. I think we had something like 4 to 5, potentially 6+ different race leaders at the end of that race. And again, there was a good qualifying session scenario in there, in the mix. The boys ran themselves. I'm, for instance, looking at Anthony Wilson, driver and teammate of Sean Skitter. They got disconnected. They were also in the lead at some other point during the course of the race, came back, still finished the race. Started this week with a no qualifying race. And again, when I say no qualifying race, the grid was manually adjusted by the administration team as Ashley makes a big fumble there, opens up the door for the Honda to take, I wouldn't say take a position, but I would go by unlapping themselves, because that is certainly not a position loss, just a position or a lap gain. Nonetheless, where was I? So the grid was a mixed grid setup. The individuals, it wasn't the scenario where the individuals that won last week's race started at pole. No, the guys that won last week's race started in 10th position. So a reverse grid strategy between 1 and 10, and then of course a reverse grid strategy for the drivers or the teams that finished between 11 and upwards. So that shakes up the grid scenario quite drastically. The race started very, very eventful. The guys from Chic SA, or LT Racing, sponsored by Chic, started at the front grid. They have sadly fallen a bit backwards at the present moment. So they're sitting here in 14th position. Had a couple of incidents here or there, but nonetheless still continuing to race. So Fun Sail and Dale or D-Hall giving the best they can, and I reckon we're still going to see better races from these guys, because I know they've got the pace, I know they've got the speed, they've got the talent. It's a great team in general, but they started off in the front of the grid alongside the sister McLaren of the Cheese and Wine boys. Again, Wilfred Robson and Lee Pullian, teammates of each other. Now they have capitalized as best as they could to the grid positions they started with. However, I think this evening the overall drivers that has done phenomenally well, again, Paul Venter and his teammate Sean Stradom, who took the opportunity to pit on the first lap. Now of course these boys had to do 2 mandatory pit stops during the course of the race of about 1 hour 15 minutes, so that is not long. That is generally a 75-minute race whereby you have to do 2 mandatory pit stops, and based on everything I've read so far, if you had to do a pit stop and just do fuel, your fuel count was like 30 seconds long. So it doesn't matter how much fuel you had to put in, you still had to sit there on the pit box for 30 seconds. So what a tough one. And again, leader on the final race. I'm going to keep my eye here, because we've got to make sure that we see these guys through all the way to the finish line. But what an eventful start. So some individuals went in and pit early, other individuals stick it out for as long as they can and did their pit boxes. Now of course what we also see on the grid, there is 2 teams that evidently has done pit stops, but it just didn't count. Now of course those who have done it have done additional pit stops. So I am very well aware for teams like the Chris Heineke boys, who's currently in 3rd place at this moment, with a pit stop still to do, to my knowledge, have done 3 pit stops. Whether only 2 of those 3 counted, it's irrelevant. As long as 2 pit stops count, I think they should just continue finishing the race, have the debate afterwards with the administration team, who can then do all the manual adjustments from a point standing point and make sure everything is on point, fair and justified. So apart from that, holy crap, what a race. Dark night, high degrees, heavy temperatures, and now we have a sunny morning at 32 track time. If that's not hot enough for you, then I do not know. I reckon some of these boys' tire pressures would be very, very hot. So final corners, keeping an eye on what's happening at the back. This is Paul Venter, the B&W team, bringing it across the line for a second podium victory, back-to-back victories. Imola win, Suzuka win, phenomenal drive by them. Again, epic stardom here for the B&HW team. Second place, M. Campbell, who I believe has done a phenomenal race. Again, Audi in 2 spots. That's great. Chris Heineke bringing it across the flag. Of course, it's going to give him a penalty, but I reckon that is all debatable. Ashley Wilson and their team in 4th in car 333. Lee Bullion here coming in 5th with the first McLaren, of course, followed by the secondary McLaren, who's been hunted and chased down by the Ferrari, who's going to try and make a move, but he doesn't. Ferrari comes into 2nd place. Chris DeSantos and his teammate Alan in 8th with his BMW. Verona, final BMW in 9th. Also crossing the line soon. And then, of course, closing off the grid will be Dave Young, who has been chased down there by Tariq and Kel van der Berg in Pace Motorsports. Again, all the action yet to come in the final few seconds of the race as the McLaren goes deep. Maybe that BMW stays close, gets the exit speed properly. This is gonna be phenomenally close, but I don't think there's enough leg or room space to take it. Great finish though, great finish up until the last minute, fighting it all the way through. Great drive by the McLaren. Let's just see, let's go back. Oof. Turn to garage, yes, sorry, apologies for that. Oh jeez. Okay, so timetables, race conditions, these are your winners for the evening. 36 laps in total that the boys have done. Honda taking it back-to-back victories again, of course, winning at Imola, now winning at Suzuka. The question remains, 4 races to go. Can they continue this momentum? I see a lot of individuals up there that can challenge them, aka the Audi, the Aston Martins, the McLarens, the BMWs. Champions still fresh. To everyone on the stream, I have to admit it, I thoroughly enjoyed your commentating opinions, of course noting all the bugs and so forth at the back end side of it. I wish you all the best. Now of course next week we will not have a race. For those lovers, married people and those who have wives or girlfriends, next week the 14th of December is 14th of February is Valentine's Day. So again, wish you all the best of lovable season holidays. Go spoil your loved ones, and if you don't have any, I don't know, the best I can tell you is spoil yourself. For everyone else, thank you. See you all in 2 weeks for round 3, and then do have a good evening, do have a good night, have a great week. Good night, good luck, God bless, goodbye.